I'd like to introduce Dr. David Brown, Director of Admissions, who will provide a profile of the class of 2015.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Family Day. I'm going to give you what I hope will be just a brief overview, a profile, if you will, of the class of 2015. I'm going to talk a little bit about our application cycle as it pertains to our School of Dental Medicine, as well as things at the national level. If we look at last year's cycle nationally, there were over 11,000 applicants for about 4,000 first-year positions. That's a little bit of an increase, a very slight increase from last year's total. There are currently 61 U.S. dental schools, including the one in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and about a year from now, there are 2 new schools that are scheduled to open. One is the Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine School of Dental Medicine in Bradenton, Florida, and there is a new school to open in Portland, Maine, the University of New England College of Dental Medicine. There are also currently 10 Canadian dental schools, and we definitely receive a fair number of applications from Canadian dental students. From Canadian applicants hoping to become dental students. With respect to the class of 2015, last year we received over 1,800 applications, and you see the 85 and 90 in parentheses. I'll try to clarify that. We are a class of 90. We do have 2 additional programs or portals of entry, if you will, that our students come to us from. We have a combined degree BS DDS program, sometimes called a 3-4 program, where the college students do 3 years rather than 4 of college. We also have an early assurance program, and for this class of 2015, 5 students came to us either through the BS DDS program or through the early assurance program. So for those 85 others, there really was a class of 85 available to the 1,800 applications that you see up there. That 1,838 is a decrease from last year, down by about 8%. Typically, every year we strive to interview about 300 applicants. So for last year's pool, roughly 1 in every 6 candidates was interviewed. If you take a look at the trend for us over the last 11 years, you can look at the year and the number of applications per year, and you can see it looks like we're about to complete the other side of that curve. And that's typical as far as what the cycle is for us over time. DAT scores. I'll speak briefly about the DAT scores, and let me begin with a disclaimer, which is that I'm not a statistician, and perhaps worse yet, I don't even play one on television, but I will try to share with you what I understand about the DATs. The scores are based on number of correct responses. The raw scores are it's not the raw scores that are reported. They are converted to standard scores, and the scale for the standard scores ranges from 1 to 30. The DAT is essentially constructed so that every year a score of a 17 tends to represent a typical national mean performance, if you will. The DAT is not curved. There are no passing or failing grades per se. The academic average, which is an average of 5 different subsections, and for the incoming class of 2015, you can see the average was 19.38. There's obviously a range there, as there always is every year. And for us, the range was from 15 to 25 for academic average. The PAT is the perceptual ability test. It is meant to assess spatial visualization skills, especially one's ability to take a 2-dimensional object and relate it to the 3-dimensional object as well. You can see the score there. Obviously, we're well above the national mean, and the range ranged from 16 to 27. Mean academic records, GPA. We obviously look carefully at GPA. We also look at DAT. I can tell you we absolutely look at far more than just those items. Those items are important. I think what it really comes down to is how much do they count in your particular process. I don't know if any of you have read any of Malcolm Gladwell's books. I had an opportunity to listen to him speak last fall at the American Dental Association in Orlando. One of his books is Outliers, and to me it's a fascinating read. One of the things he mentions in Outliers is what he calls a concept of a threshold of intelligence. And what he's basically saying is, how smart do you have to be? He defines that by saying just smart enough. He would argue that once you're, quote, smart enough, if you're smarter than that, what does that really mean? So you'll see these numbers here. Certainly we feel everyone that we have admitted is capable of doing the work on the academic side, if you will. The total GPA was a 3.5. There is the range, about 3 to 4.0. The BCP GPA is a little bit tighter filter than the typical science GPA. It is a grade point average for courses only from biology, chemistry, and physics, and that was a 3.4, again with a corresponding range. Again, for the class of 2015, as far as gender balance goes, we have 48 male, 42 female. One of the things that I learned at a very recent admissions meeting is that more women than men are entering into and graduating from higher education, and I think we're going to see that trend only continue in the future. So we are currently at 43% male, 53% male, 47% female. There are currently 15 U.S. dental schools out there whose new second-year class is a majority female. And we are not quite there yet, but I expect that's where we may be heading. If you look at the national applicant pool for 2011, 54% were male, 46% were female. I expect that will change as we go forward as well. Just a point of reference, I'm a graduate of our dental school. We graduated in 1983. There were 84 of us, and there were 11 females in our class back in 1983. This year's current average age is 25.1. I cannot remember being 25.1 years or 21 years or any of that for that matter. A little bit about diversity. I'll just share a few things with you here. Our students come to us from 53 different colleges and universities. Roughly 3 in every 4, 66 out of the 90, come to us from New York State. I certainly feel that's appropriate. We are one of 2 state schools, the other state school being Stony Brook. For feeder schools, you're going to see a lot of SUNY, State University of New York schools up here. Probably not surprising to some. Buffalo leads the way, State University of New York at Buffalo. 19 of the class of 2015 come to us from Buffalo. 5 are from Geneseo. Stony Brook has 4. I believe there are 3 schools here, then at 3, SUNY Binghamton, SUNY Brockport, and Syracuse University. And then there are 8 other schools not listed individually here that we have 2 students coming to us from. As far as subjects majored in, again, not surprising, I would think, roughly 1 in every 2 was a biology major. Biomedical sciences, 11, chemistry, 7, psychology, 4, biochemistry, 4. So, I would argue the usual suspects, if you will, are up here. But what I think is very interesting, take a look at this last bulleted item. We have people that have majored in anthropology, art, business management, economics, engineering, history, music, performance. And I think that can only help to enrich the overall experience, not only for the students, but for our faculty and staff as well. I have this slide up here because, especially to the incoming class, it's already been mentioned, but these 4 years will go by incredibly quickly. You're looking at the top slide of a student at that time, now a graduate of ours. When she was down in the pre-clinic, you'll spend a lot of time down there the first 2 years, and then you'll get into the clinical years where you're rendering direct patient care on our clinic floor. It does go by very quickly. I urge you to make the most of it, and I would just close, I guess, by acknowledging all of you out here today, the moms, the dads, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, significant others, spouses, and anyone else that I may have failed to include. You know, anyone, I guess, who has been a strong influence in the lives and career decisions of these young men and women. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you very much.